all-time favorite place is Jackson Hole. Never, ever, ever forget the first time I skied Jackson Hole. I'd been off skis for 2 years. I was in the military, and Gordy Wren, who I used to work for, was the first mountain manager there. So I'd just come back from the military. This was 1960, I think Jackson opened 63 or 64. Well, one part of the mountain opened in 63, I think. I don't remember the exact dates, but whatever it was. But the tram wasn't opened that first year, and so the tram opened the next year. So, but I went back and because you used to see these ads, this mountain is big. Are you big enough for the mountain? And so anyway, so I called Gordy and said, "Is that place as good as they say it is? As the ad says it is?" He says, "You wouldn't believe it. Just get your butt back here." So I went back. So he took me and showed me all the plans of what it was. And so anyway, and then they just had that smaller chair that goes up to the right up there, and that's about 2,400 vertical feet, which is what most of the ski areas were back in those days. You know, just the top of them. So anyway, so I skied there that year, and then the next year, at Jackson, I skied. Went back again, and this was, around Christmas time. And they had quite a bit of snow. And so anyway, I got there, and so went out, and so Gordy took me up, and we made a couple runs from the top of the tram. And it was unbelievable, because you just go up, ski down, get on the lift, and you saw 4 or 5 people, and that was it. And then one of my friends, Kent Hoopengartner, was the head of patrol, and I skied with Kent when he first started skiing. We went up to Mount Shasta in California and water skied, and climbed up and skied down, and after water skiing we go up in the late afternoon and get some corn snow. But anyway, so I skied with Gordy, and then about that time there was a couple guys showed up. Now, I didn't know who they were at the time. Never even heard of the guys, but man, could they ski. And one guy's name was Art Fuhrer, and the other guy's name was Tom Leroy. And so anyway, I ended up skiing with some of these guys, and then there was a couple other guys. One guy's name was Fred Island, was one of the first ski school guys at Aspen Highlands. It was called the Clown Prince of Skiing. This guy, old as he was, could really ski. So anyway, and we ended up about 8 of us skiing together, and so we get up to the top up there and ski down. Well, this one guy starts skiing with us, and he wasn't a real bad skier, but he wasn't a good skier. But every time he's falling down and he's blaming his equipment. My boots are hurting, or this and that, just everything else. This went on for about 2 or 3 runs. So we get down to the bottom to get on the tram, and Fred says, "I'll see you guys next run." So anyway, we go up and make the run down, get down to the bottom, and here's Fred. Well, Fred's dressed in an old pair of wool pants, looked like late 30s or something like that, or 40s. Had this old sweater on. He had an old pair of skis that had the old wood tip that's up at the end. A lot of people didn't know what those things were for, but what it was, if you're doing winter mountaineering or something, you take those 2 skis at the tip, and you tie those together and put a shelter half over the top, and you had yourself a tent. So anyway, that's what Fred had on. These old cable bindings that were probably vintage 30s or something, pre-World War II. Skis that didn't even look that good. They didn't even have edges on them. And so anyway, so this guy is and I could see right then what was coming. So we went out and ski, and we got down the bottom of Rendezvous Bowl there, and we stopped. And here comes this guy. He's down, working on these roll stops and worm turns, unintentional worm turns. That was pre-Wayne Wong. But anyway, he gets down the bottom, and Fred, still up at the top, So we're all waiting there to see what Fred's going to do. So here comes Fred. Comes down, and he's doing what they used to call Christie Royals. One of these things where your legs go way out and then you come around and just beautiful. Looked like a ballet dancer coming down. He did about 4 or 5 of those down Rendezvous. And then he just starts linking some of the most beautiful turns you've ever seen. Gets down the bottom, and everybody kind of looked over. Nobody said a word, and we took off. But guess what? Never heard one more word out of this guy. He never said one more word. The other thing that was amazing was Leroy and Fuhrer. And another guy that was there was Herman Gollner. Gollner and Tom Leroy did what they called a Mobius flip into Corbett's. One of the first, I mean, that was almost unheard of at that time. Now, hell, everybody's doing all kinds of stuff. That shit, they're going off the thing in snowmobiles. But anyway, Fuhrer was absolutely unbelievable. And this actually was a couple days later, and I was skiing with him. And he's probably one of the real early freestyle skiers where you really start seeing it. He was a Swiss national team member. And I've actually seen him running slaloms doing what they call the Charleston, where he's just going down through a slalom course like this. Unbelievable. And the guy was so light on his skis. He's only about 5'4", really a real little guy, and he's on a pair of 215 Hart Javelins. And these things must have weighed 15 pounds a pair, and probably the skis together weighed more than he did. And so anyway, Fuhrer goes down, and I mean, this, if you've ever skied Jackson Hole, sometimes when it gets that real, after a storm, but it's warm, and then the sun hits it at about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then it just sets up. I'm skiing behind him, and I'm working my butt off. I mean, I'm lucky if I got off the hill without hurting myself. And here's Fuhrer's tracks. He's leaving ruts that must have been 1.5 feet deep. And he's doing this damn Charleston right down through there. And I look at the damn track, and it was just, and the guy looked like he wasn't even touching the snow. And yet he was leaving these big, it was just amazing. One of the best skiers I've ever seen. And but anyway, and then he was doing all kinds of other stuff. But he was probably one of the real early, what you would really consider freestylers. Tom Leroy, the same way. They didn't, and that was, mind you, this is back in the mid '60s, and it wasn't until the '70s that you really started seeing a lot of the freestyle stuff.